Hello class, today we will be talking about why and how to cite sources when we are researching information. Next week we will be starting our music research projects where you will be learning about music from different cultures. The tips and tricks you learn today will help ensure that you are being ethically responsible when you are citing your sources. Just know that this is a broad overview, so we will be practicing and touching on this stuff more in the next class period. Sources are the materials that provide the researcher with information. So there are mediums such as print, which would be articles, newspapers, books, magazines, online sources like photos, websites, blogs, and videos, and other sources such as interviews, music, charts, and graphs. You may ask, why is citing your sources important? Citing information is important because it's someone else's intellectual property, so they deserve credit for their work, even if you're just summarizing something. I'm sure we've all had instances where someone has taken credit for work that we have done, and we know that it doesn't feel good. So we may need to make sure that we are giving the author credit for what they are doing. Failing to cite your sources results in plagiarism. So this goes back to stealing someone else's intellectual property. Citing sources also allows others who may be reading or watching your presentation to learn more. This allows them to further their learning just from the information that you provide. Lastly, it shows where you get your information from. The source of your information can impact its value. Is your information coming from experts in the field, or is it just someone online who maybe doesn't have experience or a degree to back up their claims? Your sources can make your argument or discussion stronger, or create the opposite, making it weaker. Citing print sources such as articles, books, newspapers, or magazines requires you to find information including the author, the title, the publisher, and the publication date. Let's look at one example that you might run into with books. Here we see the book titled Musics of Many Cultures. What makes this book different is that each chapter is written by a different author. This simply means that you will have more to cite if you are pulling information from this text. So in this instance, the title we would cite is Musics of Many Cultures. The editor is Elizabeth May, and the publisher is the University of California Press. The publication date is 1980. When we want to include information from a chapter, we will also include the chapter and the title as well as the author under it. So in this case, we see Chapter 1, Ethnomusicology, Definitions, Directions, and Problems by Bruno Nettle. Citing sources online follows much the same principle as printed sources. We will often see the need for additional items such as the title of the web page and a URL. For online sources, we will use this. We see the author here. We would cite as Chartwell Detiro. The title is 14 African Musical Styles for You to Explore. The publisher would be Real World. The publication date, which is April 18th of 2005, and the URL, which we can find in the search bar at the top of the page. In this instance, the title of the web page and the title are the same, so often they are not. Sometimes you'll have a discrepancy between the title of the web page and the title of the article. Once you are done compiling your different sources, we will make what is referred to as a bibliography, a works cited, or a reference page. This is an alphabetized list of all of the sources that you have used. So you'll see something similar to this depending on the type of format that you may be required to cite in, so MLA, AP, or Chicago. For our purposes, we will be using APA. As a side note, each format changes the order of information when citing. So this isn't something you need to really worry about at the moment, but it's something to be aware of. You may have what we refer to as in-text citations as well. This is where you're quoting something directly in your presentation or your paper, and you'd like to cite the source in the text, so hence the name in-text citation. An example here I've added is by Chartwell Detiro. So as you'll notice, after the quote, I have the author's last name, the date of publication, and the page is found on in parentheses. This is a hypothetical instance of an in-text citation, but is an example of what to do. Since Google Docs is an option available to you, I find it helpful to use this as a citation maker. You can find the Citations button under the Tools tab at the top of the page. You will be allowed to pick what format you'll be using to cite. So in our instance, we will be doing APA, but there's also MLA in Chicago. And then you'll be able to select the medium type there. So whether that be book, web page, etc. So to end, I have a couple reflection questions I would like you to answer with the Google Form link on campus. There are 2 questions. The first one is, what is a source? The second is, why is it important to cite sources? So go ahead and submit these before our next class session. Be sure to explain this in detail. You learned some really valuable information on both of these questions today, and I really would like to hear your thoughts. Thank you for listening, and I am excited to get started on our Music Around the World projects. See you next time.